There is a message which I have not yet read. I decided not to include its thoughts, its ideas in me at this time, as I wanted to speak first. I have experienced fear over leaving many times, many situations. Fear over leaving, over having to. One of the hardest was going from Chicago to Florida and how that all occurred, which I think I've talked about. I pretty much talked about everything. I feel like letting go, walking away. There was a time before this reality, there'll be a time after it. I am so immersed in it, while at the same time remembering that this is not all there is for me. But I can see a way to find another part of loving mum, feeling love for mum continuously rather than temporarily, or just accept it's done and let go of it to those who are part of this end game. Yeah, but even as I say it, it doesn't feel like something I'm going to do. Just put on my boots, take my backpack, my stool, and just walk away with nothing. Just whatever's in my pocket. See what happens. Let go of laptop and phone. Realize how complicated having them is if one is not trying to find a new life as quickly as possible with somewhere to be and somewhere to stay, and or have access to the internet, and then slowly arrange it in the way that works best for me to actually not have that, to not need the complexity and the responsibility of having those things which require that life. To just simplify it all and only have what I need, and then only a very little bit. To take the things that I would take, or to let go of things, even things that I know would be helpful. To let go of technology, to let go of the plant. If I have a thing that I take with me, or something that I take with me that's precious, I don't want it to be lost, have to look after it. Need to hide it, need to share it, need to replace it. Or just be me, because in a way I'm saying, if I need that, I can't be me without it. I don't want to be me without it. And yet, to be authentic, who else could I be but me without it? So I couldn't bring it. I would have to let that go too. To just walk away, like I did once, I had enough. I knew where I was going, but yet the walking away feeling, the lifting of weight from shoulders was unmistakable and immediately liberating. And I knew that I was ready to deal with whatever was going to come next. And an amazing adventure did. So it's still happening. To walk away, to just go. Even I could do so for a day or two, you could say. But then I'm always coming back. It's not real. You can't walk away when you know you're coming back, or when there is something to come back to. It's quite hard to walk away without. No, that's not true. It's very easy to walk away when what one is letting go of frees you to experience new. It frees you. It frees me to not have to not need to just be. I'm older now. I seem reluctant to just go. I did this once, living with my mum in a tiny place, sleeping on the sofa. Couldn't stand it. Just went, keys through letterbox, on my way back to India. And I had a very powerful experience doing that. But I had to let go completely. When I pushed the keys through the letterbox, that was it. There was no going back. There was no back. Instantly, she was gone. It was gone. It was over. I had my ticket. I was going that way, and there was nothing behind me. While I could imagine that feeling would be welcome right now, I don't think I would experience it were I to do so, because it already feels not right. That I still have a part to play, that this thing is not over yet. I have a part to play. I'm intrinsic in it. It's a very important thing to decide that there is nothing more of any value and just launch myself into what comes next for me doesn't seem right. When I left to go to Israel, when I left to go to India, after feeling that I can't be with this, I can't be here. How can I be here? What? I've got to just go. But I left everything, almost everything, as it was. Just left it there. I was smoking hash and tobacco at the time. I left that just there, as if I was still sitting there and had just gone out for a walk. I just left. I just packed a small bag, took my few things, few bits of clothing. I knew I was going to a hot place, so I'm gone. I've got the money to buy the ticket. I bought the ticket. I'm out of there. It doesn't feel like that this time. I thought that's what I needed to do. I had looked at the idea of, well, I should go. She needs somebody to look after her full time. It would be better if where I live, someone was able to care for her full time, and that she would continue to live here. That could only happen if I wasn't here. So maybe it's a good time for me to go and so on, and yet I don't feel like I have to go. And now I don't feel like I should go. It could be a kind of unwillingness to just step into the unknown, or just not quite the right time. At some point it will appear. Why didn't I look at that message straight away? I didn't want the thought. It wasn't that I was avoiding what it is. It is what it is. It says what it says, and I know that I have anxiety about what is about to happen. It's not that I need to know, and I have to remind myself that Nicola will be here to help the transition to make it settled. But still I notice that there is anxiety over not knowing an idea that lets me let go of that. I know that if Mum is here, Nicola will be here, and I will also be here. But reluctantly, I would have to consider again letting go, just doing what's best for her, regardless of whether or not I can see that there is value for me as a person, as a growth, in staying with her till the end, in being there at the end, in finding a way of helping her that's not a physical thing at the end. That her physical needs are taken care of by those who can do that. And that leaves me free to see her differently. Be with her without that anxiety that I have to do something for her. The freedom to do something for her I feel spontaneously I want to do, rather than it being expected or controlled or suggested. That when you have someone who's difficult to please, actually the real solution to it is not to feel a need to please, not to find the right thing that pleases them. To not need to please doesn't mean don't love, it just means no attachment. The need to please is the result of an attachment, because when pleasing takes place, the pleaser feels at peace. If there's a need to please and pleasing doesn't take place, then the pleaser is in turmoil. They're very anxious. It's difficult because it has to happen to have peace. So more pleasing. Try it this way, try it that way. I don't know what else I could have done. It was the act of trying to please that caused the issue, not the thing that formed the pleasing. I can't love if I'm attached. If I'm attached, it's easy to please, and I'm good at it. I'm good at pleasing, I'm good at doing things that make people feel love, feel good, feel happy. I know how to do it. It happens. Just spontaneously. I like it. It feels nice. I can't help it. But it can also create attachment if I then respond in a certain way that pulls people in. In other words, I create an audience. I'm looking for an audience, and now I want their approval. Now I need their reaction, their response, their applause, their more of that. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means the need for it interferes with the purity. It messes with things. I've been out walking, and even as I do, I feel, what if I just kept walking? It's the sort of thought that Lou would have had no problem with just doing. Just going, because he was so much him. He was already him. He wasn't me trying to become, trying to let go of, trying to figure out how to be myself authentically without having others interfere with it, having somehow others having the ability to interfere with it in a way that reveals it can't be real because it's not solid and unshakable. It shouldn't matter what other people do or say or think. If I am who I am, I just am who I am dealing with this. But if what they do or say does pull me in, does affect me, then I'm not me. I'm not myself. I'm not I. There is no is. There's nothing about me that's absolutely real, that's real beyond any doubt, that this is what it is. None of it. Yes, every so often that feeling of existence, I exist, I am a sense of myself, I experience from here, I am aware of out there. It's unique, the perspective I have. No one else can be in the moment looking where I'm looking. But that's not there all the time, and that's still just a thought about the feeling of having that. Yes, sacrifice, self-sacrifice, there's nobility in it. I have experienced it. I have seen others make choices of sacrifice, and it's wonderful for that in a real sense, sacrifice, to give way, give of yourself for the greater, for the better. I'm kind of also being supported here. I'm supported here. The system doesn't support me, and I tend to keep away from it now as much as possible. But I am supported. I allow it to support me. I act as if it's required, and appreciate and work with it so it keeps me here. It ties me here. Even though I still have money of my own, I know that it will be used or will be available for future use. So I can't rely on or assume anything about whatever's happening. And it's that sort of aspect that to go into that reality would challenge everything. It would blow everything up again, and I would be starting again with nothing. I can't move into a new reality taking the old idea of who I was in the old reality with me. It has to be new to meet the new reality. And for me, complexity, even though I still use it the way I use it, and I enjoy the technology, and I like having access to the internet and downloading things and watching catch-up stuff, documentaries, whatever I feel like I want to do. It gives me a sense of freedom when physically I don't go out into the world much that interacts with others for long at this time. But I can only have this structure really if I'm stable and still in one place. I'm here now, this is where I live. It's not. And to have it out there takes up space, it's heavy. If I want to move about, I need to be light and only have with me things that don't really matter. If I have this thing that has my writing and all my stuff and I have it all with me, and there's too much responsibility. What if I have a seizure and pass out and it's not there when I come to? It would be devastating to have put that in that situation when I didn't need it. That actually what I need is the experience that comes from the freedom that comes out of the lightness and the simplicity once the complexity has been released. All of it. That's why people in India get to achieve certain states where they walk about naked. They're in a climate where they don't need clothing and they have renounced and they are ascetic, and somehow it works. Somehow they do it. I've been in India and there is a freedom to be yourself there that I haven't found anywhere else. You can just express your spirituality, your connection, your whatever, your way, and people just get on with it. Everyone gets on with it. You just beep, 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 beep. You just go around each other when you might be heading close. No helmets on bikes, kids on. There's just a freedom to take your responsibility for your own actions that allows you to be creative in what actions you take. But that's not my people, it's not my culture, it's not my land. I'm always a stranger, I'm always an alien. Yes, I'm pretty much that anyway, but at least this is where I was born, this is where I grew up. Different as it is, the aspects of it that people want, that are there, I don't want, don't really care about. To walk, to just walk, to wander, to wear, clothes, something that protects, and boots that are comfortable and keep your feet dry, and a small pack with a few things that don't require electricity. A notepad and pen, back to the simple, the old school style. Keep it simple. Write things down, few notes, ideas, put them there in the bag. Keep it simple. Who am I? Who is this? Who do you meet when you come across somebody who's just walking with a little stool over their shoulder that they can stop and sit at any point and be comfortable and look and sit, or sit quietly and speak, but be able to sit down and do it, not have to stand up, to always have that choice. So light and so easy to carry. My one thing. But even that is a thing of responsibility. One can sit on a wall. It's not required to carry seats. There's benches everywhere, and I often walk out with nothing and sometimes feel it would be nice to carry that. How convenient to be able to sit right here just because I want to, just now. I want to look at that and I want to sit looking at it, instead of finding at the most comfortable next best thing. And sometimes I'm very happy that I've got nothing with me and I can just move about in the freedom that nothing provides. It fluctuates, it changes. Or if only I had my cushion, I would have loved to have sat on that thing with a comfortable bum. And then I let go of it and I sit on that thing and I'm there until it's not comfortable anymore, for example. But the idea of just having that on my back, which is so effortless, it just gives me an extra thing that I like to have. It's a preference, but it's not necessary. If I didn't have it, and there was a long period of my life before I had the idea of using it, I didn't have it. So it's perfectly possible to live life not having it. I've got used to it. I'm soft. I like comfort. I like to be clean. I like to be warm and dry. I like somewhere to be that's quiet and dark and where I feel safe. Of course I do. We all do. Some of us have known varying degrees of not having those things, or not having all of those things, or some of those things, or most of those things, or many of those things at different times. Some people give up or lose many of those things. I went through my own with the van, not having things that I was used to, not having a toilet, a shower that I could just use, not having a fridge just to keep things cold, relying on myself in a different way, synchronicity and imagining and idea, creativity, and making it work and finding the best solution to the situation I'm in, using my equipment well, making the most of it, making the most of what I found myself in that I wasn't really choosing or wouldn't have actually chosen, and yet it was the best thing for me. I had to get to a point where I had no more choice, but could have chosen to do it many times over the period I had it before I was now compelled to, and it was only then that I had to find and dig deep and become a person capable of living that life. Until that point, had I decided, as I might have done, as I thought about here and there, now it was based on an emotional reaction, a thing had occurred, and I was letting go of something that I loved. You know, this was my partner and it was my daughter, and I'd been a father, and we'd had an amazing adventure, and there had been difficulty, and there had been learning, and there had been crying, and there had been pain, and there had been shouting, and all the stuff. Life had happened. Yes, all to find what I had felt I had already found, peace, to find peace again. Oh, this doesn't feel right, I have to find peace. Yet I found peace, I found a way to be at peace. Seemingly, no matter what happened in the world, no matter what the world looked like, what changed, what decision I made, I could just continue to be at peace. I'd found a way to be with the world. And then something interfered with that, a choice was made, an attachment happened, and down I go, back into the world to now experience it this way. Like that, to clearly work through and bring out and have to deal with other stuff before what happens next can happen next, because otherwise I wouldn't be ready. So I've long kind of given up deciding what my life is, what my future is. You know, you can make all the plans you want, but God decides. It is decided in a way that my plan doesn't necessarily have anything to do with sometimes. To be living in that reality and move about like that, everything then falls into place in a way that can seem magical. I can't make it happen except by being in the state where it can happen, by recognizing that that place is far realer than anything else I have so far experienced. That way of being, that way of living, almost undescribable really, and it not be all, it not be everything, it was just what I could see, just what I could recognize. So why ever forget? Why would anyone ever forget? Like if you have a near-death experience and it's so real to you, it doesn't matter what someone else says it might be or could have been. The experience was real to you, and those who have had them, it changes them. So profound. And then to forget it, it's unlikely. Those things are designed to impact and change. And I say I've had experiences, or I have had experiences that for me seemed as profound as that, and at the time you could never have imagined not being aware of what was now aware of, what was there to be seen that couldn't be seen before. But so nothing has a solidity, a reality that's external, that's part of this experience. It's all subject to change. It's all subject to re-evaluation, reassessment. All it takes is a different frequency, a different vibration. Suddenly you've just seen something different and you're changed, and you're just doing it differently. It happens. I am dealing with the effects of having gotten myself in the way many times, of knowing what the right thing is, what is really going on here, what needs to happen, and somehow interfering with it, and then allowing fear, or realizing fear was playing a part, is playing a part, to insist on it. That the alternative was unimaginable, and therefore anything is better. It's a very powerful feeling, very intense, and it just has to be experienced, in my experience. It has to be. To rely on others, to rely on the kindness of people. I like when people interact with me in a way that is outside the box. So today, as I walk into Aldi, there are no baskets at all. They're all piled high, or I would later see them all piled high by the checkout. Maybe not enough staff, but it didn't stop me, it didn't faze me. I just mimed picking up a basket and carried on. It didn't adjust my pace at all. And I had my earplugs in, but there was a woman behind me who laughed. She must have seen it, and it tickled her. It just went through the motion and just carried on. I didn't hear, I wasn't looking for her, I wasn't needing an audience, and I almost didn't hear it, so it didn't matter. And then I'd stopped and I was looking at the oranges, and she said, "There's one there." And I went, "Sorry?" She goes, "There's one there." And I looked, and there was an empty basket, because I just stood there and I picked up the oranges, and there was a basket right next to me, and it had some oranges in it. So it didn't seem that it was occupied by anybody, but it could have been, because the oranges could have been theirs. But an empty one is abandoned. And so she'd kind of helped me, that she'd enjoyed that she wanted me to know there was, I would have seen it momentarily, but somehow that experience felt right. I liked the way it made me feel. I looked at her for a moment longer. She was looking at the shelf, and I carried on. Let go of her, but I could feel that if I actually took that personally, like that it was a person, that there was a connection, and sought more of it, interacted with her, bantered with her, that I am creating people, making people think that I know that, and then if I see them next time I have to it's too complicated. That's why I stay alone. And yet there was a moment when I felt that yes, and I've had more random conversations over the last few days as well. It's always interesting to have but to not need to have the experience of that spontaneous thing, but not insist on more of it, not try to hold on to it, not get more out of it, not use it, not exploit it. Yeah. And all of those vibrations, all of those ways of being, I've experienced. They've been me, or they are a part of the whole thing, even though that they are not directly engaged. They're like tools that have gone back into the toolbox, but it's having the whole toolbox that gives the possibility of doing many things.